today is Tuesday, so we are going to be doing
Okay,
science.
technically bye.
I'm sorry?
Technically bye.
You weirdo.
Technically, bye?
Weirdo.
No, like,
You're a weirdo.
you're muting us for like.
Oh, yes. I'm muting you guys, but only so we can learn. It's fine.
Okay,
Um,
bye.
Bye. So yeah, today's science, we're still using IXL. If you were here for morning check-ins, I'm trying to find like RPG video games that are educational for science and math because I think that would be super fun where you get to like make a little character that looks like you and then you just get to like play games that are like educational. That's how I learned best when I was in school. Like my dad, everybody learns best either through seeing, through hearing, through speaking, writing, or like doing. And I learned best through doing. And so some of you guys learn better when I talk because you can hear it. Some of you learn better when you like say it. You're like, oh, okay, cool, I get it. Some of you are more visual. Some of you are hands-on like me. So I really think a video game would be fun because that does everything. You're listening, you're talking, you're seeing, you're doing. So versus, this is a lot of like seeing and listening, which is fine. But I think if you guys want to as well research some sort of like RPG video game that does math and science, that would be so much fun. But anyways, science, we'll get started. I feel like our science lessons usually go by pretty fast because you guys are all pretty good at science. So let's go. Wrong website. Let's get it loaded. Sign in. My name is Mr. Hughes. And here we go. Learning, 6th grade. All right, what did we do last time? We did that one, materials. So today we're gonna do, understand an experimental protocol about plant growth. Whoa, that's intense. Is that what we're supposed to be doing? I don't know if we're supposed to learn plant growth yet, are we? I think we were. Yep, no, we are. I lied. Okay, plant growth it is. Okay, dun dun dun. And let's share my screen. All right. Go away. No. Ah, I win. Okay. Alrighty, guys. This one's called Understanding an Experimental Protocol About Plant Growth. So basically, it is experiments like we've been talking about. We've been talking about all kinds of experiments. This one is just specifically plant-based experiments. So we have 8 questions, and it wants us to answer 6 out of 8 of them correctly. I think we can do that. Timer has started, so here we go. The instructions for how to carry out a science experiment can be found in an experimental protocol. An experimental protocol often includes the list of materials you need for the experiment. The protocol also includes the procedure, which is a list of steps for carrying out the experiment. Some experimental protocols include data tables for recording the results of the experiment. So all an experimental protocol is everything you need to know to do an experiment, which is pretty normal, but that word protocol is a new one for some of us. So try and remember that, write that down. The experimental protocol below is an experiment investigating tomato plant growth. Read through the experimental protocol, then answer the question. So in our protocol, we have our materials and our procedure, like it said we would, right? We have a plastic container, water, 10 tomato plants, 10 8-inch pots, 1 40-quart bag of potting soil, and 10 earthworms. Our procedure is to pour the soil into the large container and add water until the soil is moist. Fill the pots with the moistened soil. Label each pot from 1 to 10. Plant 1 tomato plant in each. In pots 6 through 10, add 2 earthworms just beneath the soil surface. Place all of the pots next to each other in a warm, sunny area. Once a day, give each plant 4 ounces of water. After 3 months, count the number of tomatoes on each plant. Record the results here, and this is what a data table would look like, which is usually just the product of your experiment. Like, did this work? Did this not work? This is what happened. This is what did not happen. Stuff like that. So, someone. Oh, okay, my bad. All right. So our question here is: which of the following materials are required for the experiment? Select all that apply. So there could be more than one answer. All right. We have pots of different sizes, hot water, 20 earthworms, 10 tomato plants. Does anybody remember, or do you guys want me to scroll up so we can look at it again? Where's the chat box? There it is. I do. You know? Okay. Let's go down. Let's come up here. Awesome. So then, Honest or Ayub, whoever it is between you two that knows, what am I selecting here? Ten tomato plants. I don't know why this won't show up on the other one. Whatever. Okay, 10 tomato plants. All right. And boys, is that it? This really is confusing. There we go. And hot water. Okay. All right. And that's it. Okay. Let's scroll up, double check. Materials, large container, water, 10 plants, 10 pots, potting soil, 10 earthworms. So it's not different sizes because it said that the pots are the same, 8-inch pots. Okay. 20 earthworms is incorrect. You're right, because it said 10. 10 tomato plants, 10 tomato plants. And then hot water, it didn't say, it just said water. So that could be right, that could be wrong. Do we want to find out? So it is not hot water. So in this assignment, it looks like it's going to specify whether it wants like hot water, cold water, just water, like lukewarm water is technically what that would be called. But boys, you got it right because you're technically not wrong. It was water, but it's looking like for this, it wants us to specify. So now we know. All right, guys, it's the same exact thing. It's the same materials, same steps, same, what is this? Data table. So during the experiment, how many pots will contain soil? Can someone tell me that one? During the experiment, how many pots will have soil? Ayub says 10. So that's right, 10 or Honest. I don't really know which one it is. How many tomato plants? Tomato plants will be in each of them. Ayub, fair. How many tomato plants? Anybody want to raise their hand other than Honest and Ayub who are participating a lot? Nobody? How many pots? Says it up here. right? Or how many tomato plants? Says it up there. So I should definitely see more hands. Sembridi, how many?
10.
Yes. Ah! And then how many pots will have earthworms? Answer is in here somewhere. Anybody? Anybody? Reham. Oh, I need to check the chat. I feel like 4. Okie dokie. And then how much time will pass between the start of the experiment and the time when the data is collected? Ooh, that one is a little bit of math. Okay, it's a little bit of math. How much time will pass between the start of the experiment to when the data is collected? Right? The answer is also in here somewhere. Reham, is your hand back up or is that still from the first time? Okay. Right, so I've heard from Reham, Sambriti, and then the brothers, the twins. Not really. You know what I mean? So does Siwan, Demetrius, do one of you want to help us out here? He wants to know how much time is passing. Who did I hear from last time? 3 months. 3 months. You're right. 3. Does it want me to type months? Probably. 3 months. All right. And then the only one I want to relook at is how many pots will have earthworms. All right. So in pot 6 through 10. So 4 is very close because obviously if you do 10 minus 6, you get 4. But you actually need to include pot 6. So it'd be pot 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So very close. It is 5. What? Why am I wrong? I'm not wrong. I'm right. 10, 10, 5, 3. What's the right answer? It's 10, 10, 5, 3. What are you talking about? 10. Okay, we got 10, 5, and 3. 1 tomato plant. What was the question? How many tomato plants will each pot contain? Girl. That's annoying. Fine. Guys, I also misread that, so no harm, no foul. Because it says that we have 10 tomato plants, and it said how much will each pot contain. So 1 is correct. Whoops. Oh well, we were close. Okay, what's this one gonna say? Which of the following should you do before planting the tomatoes? Add the earthworms, put moistened soil into the pot, put the pot in a sunny area, count the tomatoes in each plant. I've got to, yep, that's fine. Thank you for letting me know. Whoa. Okay, so which are we doing before we plant the tomatoes? Before we plant the tomatoes. And so if we look up here, so step 3 is where we're planting the tomatoes already, which means we're only doing these 2 things before, okay? All of this is after, okay? Does that make sense? So steps 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that happens after we plant it. So only steps 1 and 2 are what we do before. So based on steps 1 and 2, what can we select? I'm so mad the chat doesn't show up like here like normal. Moisturize the soil. Yes. Good. Anything else? You guys are right because earthworms come after, sunny area comes after, and then tomatoes on each plant is pretty much the last one. Okay, second to last one. So yeah, it's just moistened soil. Right, good job. All right, still the same. What data are being collected and recorded in the tables? So these tables right up here. Plants grown in soil without earthworms and with earthworms. So what data is being collected? The average weight of the tomatoes, the average size of the tomatoes, or the number of tomatoes on each plant? Dun, dun, dun. Then what do we think? Ayub and Anis. Number of, that is correct. All right, not bad. This next one I would like someone other than the boys to answer. Okay, which variables are kept the same for all the pots? What is kept the same for all the pots? The amount of water they all get, the number of earthworms, the number of days between start and finish. So what stays the same no matter what? Anybody? Oh, Reham, the number of earthworms. So the number of earthworms is the one that's changed because that's only in pots 6 through 10. Those ones have earthworms, but not the other ones. So Reham, we know it's not that one. Thank you. What about the other two? Because we want to know if it's kept the same. So is the water kept the same, and is the number of days that pass the same? And I want to hopefully see someone other than Honest and Ayub. And if you're reading the chat, Honest and Ayub gave you one of the answers, so I should see more participation. Siwan and Demetrius, I don't even know if you're here. So you guys haven't even said anything. Are you two even here? Because if not, I'm marking you absent. Because as we should know, we cannot just turn on Zoom so that it looks like we're here and then walk away and go do whatever else we want. That's typically why us seeing you through the camera is nice. I don't require that though, but that's why I require participation at least once, because even through this whole speech, I still have heard nothing from both of you. So Siwan, Demetrius, if I don't hear anything from you by the end of this lesson, you're both marked absent. I need one of you to participate. Not one, sorry, I need both of you to participate. All right, I'll continue. Okay, the boys are correct. The amount of water each plant gets and the number of days are the same for both, right? We're still on the same experiment, okay? And now it wants us to complete the statement. In this experiment, the earthworms is the blank variable. The number of tomatoes on the plants after is the blank variable. What is this? Oh, I see what it's doing. Okay. So the answer is either, so you guys got a 50-50 chance here. It is either the earthworms in the soil is the independent variable and the number of tomatoes is the dependent variable, or backwards. If we remember, because we talked about this last week, if you remember, um, independent is the thing happening. Dependent is the thing that can only happen because it depends on something else. Okay? Independent's the thing that's just happening. But dependent is the thing that we're testing. It's the thing that's happening because of something. You know what I mean? Mr. Hughes can get a sunburn, but that depends on how much sunscreen I use. Do I use zero sunscreen or no sunscreen? Dependent is I'm depending on the sunscreen. You know what I mean? Okay, so Simon, I saw your hand for a second. Is your hand still up? Went back down, I think. Yeah, went back down. Oh, Siwan, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the top one is independent, the bottom one is dependent.
Okay, so the number of earthworms, independent. The number of tomatoes, dependent. Let's see. Boom, good job, buddy. He is correct because, guys, the number of tomatoes was depending on other things. We were depending on earthworms or no earthworms. Okay? The earthworms, though, they're not depending on anything. They're just here for the ride, basically. You know? Cool. Okie dokie. So Demetrius, you need to make sure you participate before class is over, or I'm marking you absent, buddy. Okay. Match each item to its group. Can I move? Oh, yep, I'm moving them. Cool. So the experimental group and then the control group. This one's a review too, because this one was from 2 weeks ago. So let's see if we remember. The plants grown in soil without earthworms. The plants grown in soil with earthworms. All right. Remember, one of them is the thing we're testing, and then the other one is the thing that's just normal. It's doing its own normal thing. All right. One of the experimental ones, the thing we're testing, we're making something a little different because the control group is the thing we already know what's going to happen. All right. Okay. Let me see. Did Demetrius raise his hand? Nothing. Okay, so Anis and Ayub.
The
Yeah.
So the plants grown in soil with earthworms is the experimental group, and the
Okay.
plants grown in soil without earthworms is the control group.
Yes. Yep. The one without earthworms is control. The one with earthworms is experimental. Because we don't know what's going to happen with the earthworms, guys. We're hoping it helps us get more tomatoes, but we don't know. We already know that if we plant a normal tomato plant, it's going to grow and it's going to grow tomatoes. So, good job. All right. Which question can this experiment answer? Okay, so this whole experiment, all right? Which question are we able to answer? Now, we did this, I think, Friday or last week on Thursday. So this one should be in our memory. Does adding fertilizer to the soil affect the tomatoes? Does having earthworms in the soil affect the tomatoes? Does the amount of water given to the plant affect the tomatoes? So which one can we answer? Or you can raise your hand and tell us which one can we not answer. Demetrius, do you by chance want to say anything? Reham, yes, you were right. Demetrius, anything? Nothing? Okay, so Sombriti, I'll call on you.
The fertilizer one.
So are you saying that this is what we can answer or cannot answer?
Can?
You're right, we cannot. Yeah, we cannot answer that because nowhere up here does it talk to us about fertilizer. So can't do that one. All right. So, Sombriti, do you know which the other one that we can't do, or do you want to try and guess the one we can?
Um. No.
No,
I
that's okay. It's okay. I can call on someone else. Um, does anybody else other than the boys have their hand up? Demetrius, you want to give it a shot? It's a 50-50 chance. Uh-oh. I'm in trouble. Okay, no, I'm not. All right, boys, help us out here.
Does having earthworms in the soil affect the number of tomatoes that grow on a tomato plant?
Yes, that is the thing we can answer because when we're done with this experiment, we will have the answer. We're not testing the amount of water because if you remember, where does it say? It just says water. It doesn't tell us how much. And since this is science and an experiment, it would if it wanted us to test that, it totally would have told us how much water they wanted us to do. But it just says water, so we know that it's the same water. So yes, good job. All right. This one, what? What's your prediction? A prediction is an informed guess about what might happen in an experiment. What do you think will happen in the tomato plant experiment and why? Wait, is this part of it? Oh, I think this is part of it. Okay, so what do we think is going to happen and why? That's a prediction. Oh, we're done. Are we done? Bonus stage. Okay. How many steps are there? Looks like there's 4 in the bonus stage, and then I think we're done. Cool. All right, so guys, it's the exact same thing we've been talking about. The 10 tomato plants, 5 of them with earthworms, the moist soil, blah, blah, blah. So, which of the following materials are required? Required. Hot water, 20 earthworms, 10 tomato plants, pots of different sizes. Which materials are required? Anybody other than the boys? They're getting so much participation points today. Demetrius? Are you there? Getting worried. All right. Okay, boys, what's the answer?
I think it's hot water, earthworms, and tomato plants.
Whoa, that's a lot. Okay. You think all of these are required?
Yes.
All right. Well, you're close, but it wants us to look at these very carefully. All right. If this said just water, you would be right. But it doesn't say hot water, so we're not going to pick that one. And 20 earthworms is close, but it actually only wants us to do 10. So we're not going to do that one. But it does want us to do 10 tomato plants. So that one's fine. The dirt on the earthworms. Earthworms live in soil where they eat plant matter and release nutrients. As they crawl around underground, the worms create spaces in the soil that air and water can move through. Boom, look at you earthworms killing it. All right. So it looks like we're answering the same questions. During the experiment, we're answering the ones we got wrong, I think. So during the experiment, how many pots will contain soil? Do we remember? We got this one right last time. It was the one in the middle we got wrong. Okay, anybody other than the boys? Again? The boys are just trying to make up for all this time they missed, it seems. They just want to answer all the questions. Okay. It is Monday, and I can tell that well, it's Tuesday, but it feels like Monday since yesterday we didn't have a lesson. All right, guys. The experiment has 10 pots of soil. Okay. Yeah. All right. How many I said it again, tomato. How many tomato plants will each pot contain? We learned this last time that it's just one because it says each. My bad. How many pots will contain earthworms? Only 5, only half of them. And then how much time passes? 3 months. Okay. Not bad. And technically you guys, or by the way, no one's like in trouble because you did what I asked and everyone participated at least once. And I can tell you guys are feeling a little blah today. Demetrius, I still haven't heard anything from you, buddy, and there's only 2 questions left. So if you don't answer one of them, buddy, I have to mark you absent. I'm just being honest. It's not fair to everyone else who has been here and participating. As you guys know, you cannot just sit there with your camera open while you go do whatever you want. Play on your phone, play video games, watch TV. That's not school. That's not what you would be doing if we were in class right now, face to face. So, if you're not participating, I'm not marking you present. And I can talk to parents if they are upset because of that, but I'm not changing my mind. All right. What data is being collected and recorded in the tables? The size of the tomatoes, the weight of the tomatoes, or the number of the tomatoes? Demetrius? Demetrius, you don't have to like speak if you don't want to. A lot of people use the chat box. You can do that too. Oh, wow. You guys were blowing up the group chat. Okay. Demetrius, I'm moving on. It is the number of tomatoes. We know that because it says it right here in our data table. We are testing the number of tomatoes, all right? Nothing about the weight or the size. All right. Demetrius, this is your final chance. If you do not participate, you are absent. Which question can this experiment answer? Does the amount of water given to the tomato plant affect the number of tomatoes? Does having earthworms in the soil affect the number of tomatoes? Does adding fertilizer to the soil affect the number of tomatoes? Demetrius, final chance. Because after this, we're done. Yep, this is the last one. All right? So this one is only for Demetrius. For now. I mean, if he truly is not here, though, then I will give it to someone else. But it's not going to be cool to be marked absent. Even if you're sick, or even if you don't know the answer, simply participating is a lot. A participation grade is important when I'm grading you guys. Just letting you know. All right, Demetrius. I'm going to give it to Reham in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reham, which one is it? Oh, sorry, I forgot you used the chat box. The second one, she is correct. Earthworms. That is correct. All right. And then that's prediction again. We did that. Boom. We are all done. Whoop, whoop. Cool, cool, cool. Okay. Well, I'm going to bring that down, exit that out, and stop sharing my screen. I'm going to stop recording.